have this book, I Dreamed My People Were Calling, but I Couldn't Find My Way Home, which is a book of poems and paintings,
Right.
pairs. What came first, the poem or the painting?
In that book or in my career?
In this particular book?
They came at different times. I mean, what I had was a collection of paintings, and I had documented those over a period of years, and I had volumes and volumes of poetry. And so I didn't do these specifically for this book. This book I had matched not hundreds, but dozens, let's do dozens of paintings and poems, and along with my friend, the designer, and Mike Warlow and his friend Christian, and we came up with this, and this is what came out. The work had already been done, and we just married it and put it in book form and found a publisher for it.
So the poems existed separate from the paintings, and you just matched up the
poems
existed
existed separate from the painting. It wasn't done. They weren't done together as a project.
Now, will you share with me one of your poems? I think you're going to do
Yeah, I guess it's short and it's sweet.
Okay.
I was getting off the plane. This was about 4 years ago, and I was getting off the plane in Jamaica, and I was getting a taxi to the grill, and so it was 12:50, and so I did a poem while I was riding to the grill, to 12:50 to the grill. Winter's in, and it was winter, but winter just ended because I landed in Jamaica. So winter's in, turning into green rushes, and drummers beating again and again. Like new people, we enter into promise and desire. Poised, still and breathless, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, offering timeless ritual across the bloodied ocean. We bring you with us on yet another journey. And, it's just talking about Jamaica and most third world places where people of color are very much the same. I've been to Africa a few times. And so the villages in Jamaica are very much like the villages in Africa. And when you leave the United States and you go to these places where our people live, you see a more authentic way of people. They have a more, the smaller villages have a timelessness to them, and there seems to be more culture going on and more interaction amongst the people on a deeper level than we're experiencing here. So that every time, one of the best joys, I go to Jamaica a lot, was just riding through the towns and in the parishes and seeing the people interacting, and it's just amazing to me how much we've lost here in America.
Would you speak about your creative process with the paintings? And because they're very colorful, very beautiful paintings, and I don't know that much about how you would do it, but they almost look like glass-like.
Oh, well, yeah.
I don't know what they are in reality.
Well, most of the paintings are a combination, especially the ones in that book, are a combination of charcoal, oil paint, pastels. I have them all laying out on the table where I paint, and whatever seems to fit appropriately. But my process is, I get up early in the morning, about 6 o'clock, and I walk my dogs, and I come back, and I paint after that because it's quiet, and there's nothing going on. The phone's not ringing with foundation business or this kind of business or that kind of business. And this is when these objects in this house actually do all the speaking to me, when it's silent. And I'm not looking at them, but you can just feel their energy. And I begin the process of painting, and the paintings just sort of form for themselves a lot of times. I'll go with preconceived notions of, size and color, but the shapes and forms come to me as I'm creating. Yeah.
Now, will you complete a painting in one morning, or is it something that takes
I have.
a long time?
Usually, one morning you'll have the form of a painting, and then you go back and you work on it, and you might work on it over several weeks. But largely, the template, to use a word, for the painting is created for me in one setting, or the outline, and then you work on it and you perfect it and you get it where you want, and that takes time. But the creative impulse comes out, and you usually pretty much finish with that part of it in one setting.
Now, with your poetry, do you approach the creative process for your poetry in the same way, or is it different?
Um, for me, the poetry, I just sit down and decide I'm going to write, and I start writing, and sometimes I have subject matter that I sit down with, but there's no real process. How you gear up for something. You just sit down and you start to write stuff, and the words come together. I'm not formally trained in art or poetry, although I get it naturally from my parents. I guess it's in my DNA, but. I sit down and the words come. But, usually you have, if it's a social poem, you have some sort of theme you have in mind. But there's so many endless themes out there, so many things that we can think of that are inspirational one way or another, negatively or positively. A lot of the poems that are reflected in this book have political and social content in them. And it's not hard to figure out what injustices are bothering me that day because it's such a large list of social ills that we can come to, and there's so many large lists of blessings that we can come to. And also, excuse me, love is a theme that or relationships is always a theme rife sitting there for your poetry.
Well, there's a poem that you performed yesterday. I think there was an event, and you said it got you in trouble, according to Deborah Williams, who
Oh,
was.
God.
Would you share it with us and then explain why it got you in trouble?
Well, it didn't really get me in trouble. It got me into a relationship I probably, shouldn't have been in. Well, maybe I should have been in it, but that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. Let's put it that way. And the poem was written as part of a courtship ritual. So, maybe if I had not written this poem, I might not have gotten it.
Hear it.
Oh, you want to hear the poem?
Yes.
It's called You. And I was describing the way the woman was making me feel. You, a roaring whisper, a long insistence, an unnerving tingle I'm tangled in, a giant spell spoken 3 times so not to be lightly broken. You old romantic movie with many tears and a hint of sex. You, way over there, out there even as I stretch my fullest, are beyond the length of my fingers. So that was a get the girl poem.
Yeah, get the girl. You had to get her, and you got her.
Hey, no, the relationship lasted for a while. But,